Hi folks, just a brief thing that I want to say about swords that are designed to use the thrust particularly. And you'll notice that they tend to fall pretty much from the late Middle Ages onwards into two sort of basic solutions to bring the blade more in line with the hand. The first solution that we see in rapiers and early period small swords, and indeed earlier on in the sort of side sword tradition, has what we call finger rings. Okay, so if you look at a rapier hilt there, these rings in front of and behind the blade are designed to put your index finger over. What that does is it brings the hand in line with the blade. Okay, so not only does it bring the blade in line with the forearm, okay, so we're able to deliver a point more comfortably, but we're also able to hold the blade in this position with the point extended for longer, and indeed having your index finger over the front quillon like that, protected by the front finger ring there, also enables you greater control of the point. It's a bit like having your finger in obviously in a trigger of a gun or something like that. But it gives you, and it's a bit like a modern, it has a similar kind of reason to a modern, what's called orthopedic grip on a modern fencing foil or épée. Okay, so by having the finger over there, you've got more points of contact between your hand and you've got a right angle there to steer with. Okay, so it's increasing your traction on the point, your control of the point, and it's bringing, as I mentioned, the blade in line with the forearm. Now, for various reasons, the finger ring fell out of favour kind of towards the end of the 17th century, beginning of the 18th century, with the development of the small sword. I'm not 100% sure why, but what we end up with is a hilt that looks more like this, where there are no finger rings at all. However, it's still a sword that is designed primarily to thrust. And the solution there, if you want to have the blade in line with the forearm, is to do this, to put the thumb up the back, and the forefinger still goes kind of in the same position as if it was in a finger ring, but without actually having a finger ring there. I should mention the finger ring, whilst it has advantages, has a couple of disadvantages that basically centre around the fact that you can get your hand quite nicely trapped if someone goes to disarm you. So if someone grabs your weapon and starts twisting, if you've got your finger stuck in a ring, you stand almost no chance whatsoever of being able to drop the weapon and get your hand out. It tends to just break your finger, quite frankly. Okay, so it could be that one of the reasons why the finger ring fell out of favour with the small sword is there's quite a lot of disarming techniques taught in small sword treatises, and so if they were doing lots of disarms in small sword dueling and small sword fencing, perhaps they just found that the finger ring was more of a liability than a help, perhaps. I think also attached to that is the fact that the small sword is so light and so handy that you don't really need the extra leverage and traction that a finger ring gives you with a small sword. You've already got that from a conventional standard grip, it's such a light thing. Whereas a rapier, being much longer, heavier and relatively more unwieldy, having that finger ring really gives you an advantage. Now, finger rings do also have a benefit for cuts to a certain extent, and we see a sort of survival of the finger ring on certain types of German and Austrian and Swiss sabre, and they actually have a leather loop underneath the guard. I don't have any examples I can show you, I'm afraid, but they work in the same way as a finger ring, and what they do is when your hand pulls downwards to perform a downwards cut, it's basically just giving you an extra point of leverage because your index finger is pulling down on that crossguard there, or leather loop in the case of the German and Austrian sabre, and that accelerates the tip kind of quicker. But again, it has the disadvantage of it's more difficult to get your hand out of it if you get grappled or someone's trying to disarm you or whatever. Even if perhaps if you're falling off a horse, if you need to just let go of the sword, it's more difficult to do if your hand is caught up in some kind of device like a finger ring or a leather loop. So ultimately the finger ring fell aside for general use in most parts of Europe, and we end up with a more conventional grip like this, and the solution is to put your thumb up the back. Okay, And equally, although the thumb brings the point more and the blade more in line with the forearm, it also enables you to give snappier cuts, which is perhaps the main reason why it's used in sabre fencing, although the fact that if you're going to have these guard positions where the point is kept extended for long periods of time, having the thumb up makes those more, helps you to keep the point on line more of the time. So there we go, two solutions to bringing the point of a weapon in line with the forearm and making it more suited towards thrusting swordplay. One is the fingering and the other is the thumb up the back. In both cases you'll notice you cant the hand, so you're not holding it in a hammer grip with a right angle between the blade and your forearm anymore. You slide the hand back into what some people call a handshake grip, and the point naturally comes on more in line with the forearm. Okay, thank you.